Hey everyone, Adrigat here and welcome back to my channel. Today I'm showing you how to get Ka, Legend of the Deep, an amazing fish mount that you will earn by completing the achievement Derby Dash. Unfortunately, this achievement is only available on Saturdays, but don't worry, I've got you covered with tips to boost your fishing skill and perception so you can start prepping for it throughout the week. First of all, if you haven't picked up the Kazalgar fishing, you will want to start there. There is also a fishing trainer right here in Dornogal. While you don't need a maxed out fishing skill, I highly recommend having at least 200. This makes catching the epic fish in Ask Ahead much easier. To increase your fishing skill, the obvious method is by fishing in Kazalgar itself. However, there is a specific order to follow. Start on the surface at the Isle of Dorn, and as you improve your skill, you will unlock access to the underground zones where you can continue leveling. Beyond fishing itself, you can boost further your skill with using profession tools and accessories. There's 2 new fishing poles made by engineers and 2 new fishing hats made by tailors. The lower quality of these can be picked up straight from the auction house, while the higher blue quality ones can only be ordered through the work orders, though they do need a whopping amount of 300 artisans equity each. If you can afford the blue ones, it's better to get those if you are also interested in making some gold. If not, then it's okay to stick with the greens. Bear in mind as well that the fishing pole will go directly into your fishing tub, while the cap must be worn on your character. In addition to that, the fishing pole can be further enhanced with Algari Weaver line, a tailoring craft that acts as the base to start building skill or perception using specialized threads. If you want to learn more about those and generally how to increase your fishing skill even more, stick till the end. For now, let's focus on how to complete the Derby Dash achievement. To earn it, you'll need to catch all 20 fish from Kazalgar and turn in the quest within the time limit during the Meraldar Fishing Derby. Now, if you don't know what the Fishing Derby is, it's basically a weekly event that takes place every Saturday. You'll find the quest in Hallowfall visible in your map and offered by Captain Oathmead. Upon accepting the quest, you will get a buff called Derby Dasher, which lasts for 1 hour. Bear in mind that this buff counts down in real time, so even if you log out, the clock is still ticking. Logging off can also cause you to lose the buff entirely, forcing you to wait another week. Just be sure you've got a solid hour of playtime before you even attempt this. Okay, so with that out of the way, while the Derby Dasher buff is active, you can start catching trophy fish. Each week you'll be given a quest to catch 3 specific fish, but you can continue fishing from the pools to collect all 20 types. Once you have caught them all, the achievement will trigger and you will earn this beautiful mount. Contrary to what the achievement text says, you don't actually need to turn in the quest to unlock it. For me, the achievement popped up right after catching the last fish I needed. That being said, I did actually finish the quest in the first week and I started collecting some fish, and then I completed the achievement in the second week when I actually got all of the remaining fish. And yeah, you don't actually have to do this in one go. The good news is your progress carries over between weeks, so you don't need to worry about not finding all 20 fish within one derby session. Before grabbing the derby quest, I highly recommend getting these 2 add-ons. The first one is called the Fishing Derby Tracker. It organizes the fish by zone and even highlights which swarms contain each type. While it's not perfect as it doesn't include all the possible fishing pools, it's still accurate enough to guide you to most of the fish you'll need. For instance, it doesn't mention that pale huskfish can also be caught in the infused ichor spill, in addition to the festering rod pools in the Isle of Dorn. So it's always a good idea to cross-reference the add-ons information with your fishing journal. That said, it's still incredibly useful to have most of the fishing sources organized in one place. Also, keep in mind that if you do this over multiple weeks, the add-on will refresh the list each week. This is because you can catch all 20 fish all over again to earn Meraldar Derby tokens. I will cover those towards the end of the video. However, if you want to see which fish you are still missing for the achievement, it's then better to track your progress through the Achievements tab. The second add-on to consider is Better Fishing, which improves your overall fishing experience. First of all, it enhances the fishing sound, which makes it easier to know when you actually got a catch. Plus, it allows you to fish and hook by using any key bind or even by double-clicking. Personally, I mainly use it for the improved sound effects, but the other features are definitely a bonus. For most of you, this should be enough to get you started on the derby, but I will share some additional tips down the line, so make sure to watch the entire video to be fully prepared. With that said, let's see how I managed to get all of the fish in time using everything I've learned so far. First things first, when I pick up the quest, I always start fishing in Hallowfall, since most of the fish can be caught here. However, to be able to get all of the fish, I will still need to visit the other 3 zones. Always make sure to use a Phial of True Sight, as this will increase your perception. This is one of the best stats when it comes to fishing, as it can help you get the rarest fish. You can easily buy them from the auction house, and you might need 2 of them. I usually get the rank 2 cause it's not that expensive and it still gives me a decent perception boost. Most of the fish are pretty easy to catch, but some of them can be quite tricky, so I want to take a moment to focus on those. For instance, if you're struggling to catch certain fish like the Addons or hammerfish or specular rainbow fish, consider using lures crafted by skinners. These can be easily picked up from the auction house. You can find the Addons or hammerfish in the blood pools of Hallowfall, while specular rainbow fish are located in glimmer pools scattered throughout Castlegar. Another fish that gave me quite some trouble was the roaring Angleseeker, which can only be caught from Angleseeker torrent pools. While it's easy to catch it if you do find the pool, these pools seem to be pretty rare. If you don't see any in Hallowfall, I recommend switching to the ringing deeps, and as you search, be sure to fish in other pools along the way. This might help trigger the Angleseeker torrent pools to spawn. Also, one of the most challenging fish to catch is the Awoken Coelacanth, which is why I emphasize having high skill from the start. Ideally, you'll want to reach 225, as this unlocks the final zone ask ahead where these rare fish can be found. However, it's still possible to catch it with around 200. It just might take a bit more effort. And don't forget that you'll need to catch it while the 60 minutes buff is still active. Besides skill, you'll also need another buff to lure the Awoken Coelacanth. Specifically, you'll need to throw 10 Whispering Stargazers into any waters in Ask Ahead. These stargazers can be obtained from pools of the same name located on the Isle of Dawn, and be sure to have a few extras just in case you need more. You can even be more time efficient with this if you get the Whispering Stargazers before the Derby buff. What I mean is, for the achievement you only need to catch 1 while having the buff, and the rest you can either buy from the auction house or just catch them ahead of time. This way you don't end up wasting your Derby buff while trying to catch the Stargazers. Once you have enough, head to Ask Ahead and start tossing them into the water. After throwing 10, you'll receive a 5 minutes buff that allows you to attract the Awoken Coelacanth. In a similar manner, Queen's Lurefish can be found in Ask Ahead, but this requires you to use a regal dotty bag as bait. Tossing a single dotty bag into the water grants you a 30-second buff that attracts the Queen's Lurefish. If you throw more, the buff stacks up to a maximum of 10 minutes, but personally I prefer tossing them one at a time to extend the buff as needed. When it comes to finding regal dotty bags, they are much easier to fish from the Royal Ripple pools in Ask Ahead rather than in the calm surfacing ones. So getting all the fish while still having the Derby buff should make the achievement pop, and you will eventually receive your mount. With that said, 60 minutes is plenty of time, though like I said, you can do it in multiple weeks, there is no really a rush. However, if you are eager to get it done in one go, it's achievable given that you have prepared and have a decent skill. And speaking of skill, let's go over some easy ways to boost it further, as this might be the key factor preventing us from completing the achievement. Keep in mind that when I got the mount, I had around 250 skill, so you don't need to max it out all the way. For starters, you can get a quick skill boost by tossing certain fish back into the water, like the Bismuth Bitterling or Dilly Dally Days. In a similar manner, some other fish can give a bit of perception boost, which can make a huge difference. A little bit of perception does go a long way, and that's why I think it's really important to use a Phial of True Sight. Now, for more permanent boost, like I said before, you can attach an Algari Weaver line onto your fishing pole. While the Weaver line is active, you can fish up or purchase threads that can enhance either your fishing skill or perception. Each thread gives you 1 point and it can stack up to 100. These threads can be bought with Meraldar Derby marks, which are earned during the Fishing Derby event. You receive 1 mark per unique fish caught, up to 20 marks each Saturday, plus an additional 10 marks for completing the weekly quest. And as an additional quest reward, you can choose a thread or a sock journal entry, which further increases your fishing skill. All of these quest items can also be purchased with derby marks from the same NPC. The journal is priced at 5 marks and the Algari threads cost 10 each. Alternatively, you can use your marks to purchase the food recipe Ghoulfish Delight. This food provides a 1-hour buff to both skill and perception, which makes it a perfect choice for the duration of the event. Cursed ghoulfish drop very often from blood pools in Hallowfall, and you'll need to fillet 5 of them to craft the prepared ghoulfish required for the recipe. And keep in mind that the recipe, along with its reagents, can also be purchased from the auction house, though the food itself is soul-bound. While we are definitely talking about min-maxing here, the food isn't strictly necessary to complete the achievement. I didn't use it myself, however it can be incredibly helpful for those who might be a bit behind on skill, especially if you are planning to do this in one go. Instead, you can throw any cursed ghoulfish that you find back into the water for a small perception boost. I believe that with more than 200 skill, you should be able to do this in 1 week, unless you are very lucky. When I started it, I had less than 200, which forced me to go for a second week. But either way, however long it takes you, it's such a nice reward, which makes this all worth it. And yeah, that's pretty much all. As always, thank you so much for sticking around, and make sure to drop a like if you have found this video helpful. Don't forget to subscribe for more WoW coverage and hit the bell to stay up to date. Good luck with whatever you're doing, and I'll see you all in the next one. Bye!